The case that would come to be known as the Delphi murders begins on an unseasonably warm February afternoon in 2017.
In the small, tightly knit town of Delphi, Indiana. A place where life moves at a slower pace.
And where the idea of a violent crime feels distant. On February 13th, two young girls set out for what should have been a carefree afternoon.
A place that offered both beauty and a hint of adventure. With its abandoned railroad bridge stretching high above Deer,
forcing anyone who crossed it to step carefully, balancing excitement with caution, the kind of place where teenagers take pictures, laugh nervously as they inch forward, and feel, for a brief moment, like they are standing on the edge of something larger than themselves.
Capturing smiles and laughter, moments that would later take on an unbearable weight because they were among the last traces of normalcy before everything changed.
What makes this case uniquely haunting, what elevates it beyond even the most disturbing true crime stories, is not just the crime itself, but the fragments of evidence left behind, particularly a short video clip and an eerie audio recording, both captured by Liberty German in what investigators believe was an instinctive act. A subtle recognition that something was wrong, that the man approaching them on the bridge did not belong in that moment, that his presence carried a tension that words alone could not explain.
And so not fully understanding the gravity of what, but in doing so.
A grainy video showing a man walking toward them, his head slightly down, his hands in his pockets, dressed in a blue jacket and jeans,
his gait deliberate, unhurried, almost disturbingly calm, as if he knew exactly what he was doing and where this encounter was leading. And then there's the audio, a few seconds that have echoed across the nation.
Guys, down the hill.
You need to understand how close we were, how close I was. The air shifted, the same creeping realization that something is terribly wrong. The timeline of that day unfolds with a deceptive clarity. The girls were dropped off near the trailhead around 1:35 p.m. They made their way across the bridge, took photos, sent messages, and at some point encountered the man seen in the video.
A moment that would become the focal point of the entire investigation. Yet despite the presence of this digital evidence,
hidden in the shadows of the wooded area beyond the bridge, where the girls were ultimately led, where the crime took place, and where their lives were tragically cut short. And as the afternoon turned into evening and the girls failed to return, concern quickly escalated into panic.
And soon the entire community was mobilized, combing through trails and wooded areas, calling out their names, clinging to hope.
But by the next day, February 14th, that hope was shattered, when their bodies were discovered near Deer Creek, a discovery that transformed a missing persons case into a homicide investigation, sending shockwaves through Delphi and beyond. Because this was not just a crime, it was an intrusion into the very fabric of a community that had long believed itself to be safe.
Investigators were faced with a paradox. They had more evidence than many cases ever receive. A video, an audio recording, a general timeline.
As if he had stepped out of the frame and disappeared into thin air, leaving behind only fragments. And in the early stages of the investigation, law enforcement released a composite sketch based on witness descriptions, depicting an older man with a hat and facial hair, an image that quickly became synonymous with the case.
Appearing on news broadcasts, social media, and billboards, urging the public to come forward with any information, and for a time, this was the face of the suspect.
The image that people associated with the voice, with the video, with the horror of that day. But as the investigation progressed, new information emerged, leading to a dramatic shift in April 2019 when authorities released a second sketch, this one showing a much younger man, clean-shaven, with a completely different appearance.
A move that both revitalized the case and deepened the mystery, raising questions about the accuracy of the initial sketch, the reliability of witness accounts,
and the true identity of the man captured on Liberty's phone. And during a press conference announcing the new sketch, investigators spoke directly to the killer, their tone unusually personal, almost confrontational, suggesting that they believed he was hiding in plain sight, possibly within the community itself.
A statement that added a new layer of unease, because it implied that the person responsible for this crime could be someone familiar, someone who blended in.
Someone who might have been seen at the grocery store, at a gas station, or even at community events. Unnoticed, unrecognized, yet carrying a secret that connected him to one of the most disturbing crimes in recent memory. As the years passed, the case remained unsolved, but it never faded from public consciousness, largely because of the audio clip.
That haunting fragment of sound that continued to circulate online, played in documentaries, discussed in podcasts, and analyzed by countless individuals attempting to identify the voice.
Some focusing on the accent, others on the tone, the pacing, the subtle inflections, searching for anything that might reveal the speaker's identity. And in many ways, the audio became both the strongest lead And the greatest enigma, a piece of evidence, a reminder that even with modern technology, even with digital recordings, there are limits to what can be uncovered.
The emotional toll on the families of Abigail Williams and Liberty German was immeasurable, their grief compounded by the passage of time, by the lack of answers.
By the knowledge that the person responsible had not yet been held accountable, yet they remained vocal, advocating for justice, keeping the memory of the girls alive, ensuring that the case did not fade into obscurity, and their resilience became a central part of the narrative, a testament to the enduring strength of those left behind. Then, in October 2022, a development reignited national attention as authorities announced they had taken a local man from the Delphi area into custody.
Someone who, according to investigators, had been on the trail that day. Someone who matched key aspects of the evidence.
And the revelation that the suspect was not a transient outsider, but a member of the community, added a chilling dimension to the case, that he may have interacted with others while carrying the weight of his alleged actions. And as court documents began to reveal more details,
including statements, forensic evidence, and investigative findings, the complexity of the case became increasingly apparent, with legal proceedings unfolding in a way that underscored the challenge of
building a case that must withstand scrutiny, that must prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And while the arrest marked a significant turning point, it did not bring immediate closure. Instead, it opened a new chapter, one defined by courtroom arguments. What continues to make the Delphi murders so deeply unsettling is the combination of elements that define it: the ordinary setting, the young victims, the presence of digital evidence, and the lingering questions that persist even years later. It challenges assumptions about safety, about the effectiveness of technology.
Richest about the nature of criminal behavior, and it forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality that evil can exist in familiar places.
Until it reveals itself in the most devastating way, and at the center of it all remains that voice, those 4 words: guys, down the hill. A phrase that has become etched into the collective memory, not just as a clue, but as a symbol of the moment when innocence was interrupted. When an ordinary afternoon turned into a tragedy that would resonate far beyond the boundaries of a small Indiana town. And as the case continues to unfold, as new information emerges and old questions are revisited, the importance of vigilance and the enduring pursuit of truth in the face of uncertainty, a story that continues to grip the nation, not just because of what happened, but because of what it represents. A mystery that, despite all the evidence, refused to be easily solved. A voice that was heard by millions yet remained unidentified for years. And a community forever changed by a single, unthinkable act.